What a time to be alive. It's the Dragon Roost episode 2 with your host Sam, and I've done nothing of consequence since last Sunday.
Hey guys, it's Reala here. This is kind of a weird flex, but I have every 5-star dragon in the game.
Hey everyone, I'm Clocks and my spirit animal is a bear.
Hey guys, I'm JakChoy and I'm a wash-up moderator from the Dragalia Lost Discord channel.
Even though there's no new event this week, we still have a lot to talk about. First up, I want to bring up injecting and cheap diamantium. There's been a lot of advertisements on YouTube's. Certain people have been sponsored and been pushing for cheap diamantium, but it's kind of fishy, right?
It's
a bit more than Our stance on it is don't do it, no matter how good it sounds.
So I have a bit of an anecdote for you guys. You know, I was a new kid. I was walking into that fresh Dragalia Lost Facebook discussion group, and there was some guy there, and he said, "Hey, buddy." He pulled me across a dark alleyway, and he was like, "Hey, man, you want the goods?" And I'm like, "What is the goods?" You know, I'm like 17. I don't really know what the lingo is, so I was curious what the goods actually meant. He's just like, "Hey, man, I can give you 4,200 diamantium for the low price of $25. And my mind just went so fast. I was like, man, I'm going to get so many good pulls. I got the galaxy brain. I was like pulling before I could actually pull. You feel?
Yeah.
That's how fast my mind was racing. And then I asked him, so, how are you getting this diamantium? Because it kind of hit me like, wait, how's he getting this stuff? And he was just like, bro, I can't tell you. We just got tools, bro. We just got tools to get us the best quality diamantium possible. And I'm like, isn't this against TOS? And he's like, yeah. And that's my story.
So he literally straight up told you that it was against TOS?
Well, he didn't quite say it like that because he's trying to sell me something, but he's just like, well, I mean, technically it is against TOS because we're account sharing and things like that, but eventually he was just trying to tell me that I would not get banned for doing the diamantium pumps, but I eventually decided against it.
Fun fact, you will get banned. So if you inject, which is, hacking the APK to just give yourself free premium currency, or you go for those schemes where you buy cheap premium currency, which is actually a money laundering scheme on the other side of things, devs do detect that and games have been banning for it. It's a bit of a risk bringing this up on a podcast because some people might use their non-functioning galaxy brain and think, hey, that sounds like a good idea. And we're here to tell you no, it isn't. You're going to get banned. If you like playing this game, don't do it.
There's been ban waves for other games in the past, and it's really easy for the devs to detect it. Honestly, like, the issue why I think we bring this up is because, like, for most of, like, the Facebook groups and, like, other Dragalia Lost Discord channels that I've been to have some sort of, like, vendor that tries to rip people off. So I guess it's kind of like a caution just against that.
Yeah, it's like a PSA. Like, don't fall for that. Don't do it.
Honestly, the biggest galaxy brain technique you could even use for playing Dragalia Lost is making sure that Cygames and Nintendo get every dollar from your wallet. Okay? You gotta support them for making the best game that they can make, right? They've been really on top of it in terms of community interaction and feedback.
True, yeah.
So I think we really do owe it to them to spend the money the way they want.
I mean, to be completely honest though, spend as much as you want, but within reason of your own expenses, I guess.
And not on cheap, shady money laundering vendors. That was the whole point of the conversation. We weren't trying to tell you how to spend on a gacha game. That wasn't actually the topic of conversation.
Okay. But the main thing is that if you do make any purchases in the future, please make sure you're either using the Google Play Store or the Apple Store to make your purchases. Do not purchase them from some dude on the internet sending you a Facebook message or a Discord message, and I've received them before. But it's not just the purchasing of cheap diamantium, it's also injecting. The thing is that there are modded APKs that can put diamantium into your account, and those should be avoided at all costs as well. But with that, our PSA is over. We just wanted to be good Dragalia Lost citizens. The thing that's been on my mind last week and even this week is Wyrmprints. Are they good or are they bad? Now, in my... I mean, come on. It's like literally a binary question in my mind.
In your mind? Okay.
It could be a binary question, but I feel like the real answer isn't as simple. There's like definitely...
Well, let me put it out for you here. I think Wyrmprints are garbage. I think that they should take them out of the gacha and refund us for whatever amount of Wyrmprints we have pulled. Because...
Can they even do that?
Yes, they track everything about your account.
Yeah, they could do that.
Oh.
How else could they given us 116 blessed Ethon ashes? If
Well,
they didn't know
that's
how
easy
many
because
times
like
you
they just
leveled up?
calculate it based on your level. I think.
Yeah, I'm sure they have a record of all your pulls.
And your
they know which
refreshes.
of those are Wyrmprints.
They track your refreshes too, because I got an Ethon Ash for every time I refreshed as well.
Oh.
So you see, they do
So it is
track.
possible.
Yeah, they do track.
I'm
minute things about your
99%
account.
certain they track all your pulls, just in case something goes wrong. They can pull it up and be like, "Nah, dude, you did get that unit. Sorry."
But
bro.
that's my thing. I think the Wyrmprint should be taken out of the gacha, and they should refund us the 150 gems or 30 gems if you got it on a daily deal. Diamantium, sorry, not gems. And that be that. Just let us pull for adventurers and dragons, and let us be happy and never salty when we do get a rainbow. And keep the Wyrmprint system in the game. Make them all farmable. Yeah. High Midgard Wyrmprint is farmable. The event Wyrmprints are farmable. And that's the content most people are spending their time doing. And, for Imperial Onslaught and things like that, you just wear one of these event items because they'll give you some bonus stats. And there you go. Problem solved.
I actually do like that idea, even though it's a bit kind of out there, and I feel like it's very much wistful thinking in terms of the developers. But I do think it's kind of a funny meme, if we're going to put it that way. But in terms of what my idea is for fixing the Wyrmprint system, it actually is similar to what you kind of put out there. When we roll on the gacha, I do want it to be 2% adventurers, 2% dragons when it comes to 5-star pulls. And I kind of want to introduce kind of like a friend point gacha that's been seen in other mobile games, most notably Fate Grand Order. And essentially, what will happen when someone uses your helper in-game is that they're going to get mana, like they currently do, as well as a certain number of friend points that will be calculated via an algorithm that they will decide. And through there, you're going to be able to get 2-star weapons, some little elemental orbs, basically things that you expect from a Blazon summon. But there's going to be a rotating cast of featured 4-star and 5-star Wyrmprints, very much similar to the Blazon summons. So that doesn't take Wyrmprints out of the game, and it does have to do with the gacha, so people can save up for specific Wyrmprints that they're looking forward to. And I think that will kind of alleviate most of our issues when it comes to Wyrmprints. And I think Clocks knows that better than anyone when she does her gacha pulls and gets a 5-star Wyrmprint and it resets her pity and her day is ruined.
Here at the Dragon Roost offices, we call her the Wyrmprint Queen.
I've only been pity broken by a Wyrmprint like twice.
Oh, lucky you. Well, I'll take this moment to talk about pity rates. My solution. So I think a friend gacha would be an interesting way to kick the Wyrmprints kind of out of the regular gacha, which is what Sam was also suggesting. Except he just was like, screw Wyrmprints altogether. First of all, one solution that I've seen brought up is pity rates, right? Wyrmprints reset your pity rates, and that's the reason anytime I see a rainbow in my polls, I can't be excited until I see that it's not a Wyrmprint, and it's usually a Wyrmprint. So there's multiple options with the pity rates. Don't reset at all. So if you pull a Wyrmprint and you're at a 6% pity rate, just keep it at 6%. That Wyrmprint, congrats, you got a nice Wyrmprint, but it doesn't reset your pity rate. The other option another option is to just drop it by a level. So say you were at 6%, you got a 5-star Wyrmprint, drop it to 5.5%, right? Or whatever the 10 pulls down is. Yeah, or the third option for pity rates would be to have separate rates for units, dragons, and prints.
Yeah, I think that's like the most famous or popular solution in like general communities. Me personally, I think what would work is if they just buff the effects of Wyrmprints. Like, I know in some other games, like for example Epic 7, they have a similar Wyrmprint system. It's just that those Wyrmprints are actually hella useful. And like they have a purpose and they can be used. In Dragalia Lost, Wyrmprints are first of all very weak in terms of their usage, so people don't really focus on them. And the other thing is they become completely irrelevant in events. So I feel that they either need to buff Wyrmprints, take out event Wyrmprints, or like do like a mix of both somehow and make them relevant if they want to actually have them be a big part of the game, which it honestly isn't right now. And that's the issue with pulling.
So I just want to piggyback really quick off of that because another idea that's been brought up is to have 2 Wyrmprint equipment slots, which is like an indirect way of buffing them, right? Because you get your event Wyrmprint and then you equip like an actual Wyrmprint. So I don't know what you guys want to have to say about that.
That'd be also interesting, but I don't know how much of the game mechanics they can change. Like that's a lot. That's a pretty big change if you ask me. But
I don't know.
That'd be interesting.
I think we're all being way too nice about the Wyrmprint system. Honestly, I do think it's like extremely predatory what they're doing with the Wyrmprints. I mean, you're pulling for something that basically doesn't have any visual or effect on your game, right? You don't feel the effects of the Wyrmprints when you equip them, and they're literally just there to break your pity rates and fill the gacha with crap that you're not going to use. And so, I don't know, I just think Wyrmprints were a bad idea to begin with. They were very poor in execution. If you want to keep them around, then yeah, sure, keep the event stuff, keep the, the stuff you farm for, but the stuff you pull for, just take it out. Just take it out. Just, I don't know. It just feels bad, man.
I mean, it feels extra bad, and because I'm the Wyrmprint queen, I have a lot to say about this. The facility event featured event Wyrmprints that gave you extra trick-or-treats or whatever, and like these Wyrmprints did have 3 different I guess like, so they had the event part, so the Wyrmprint, and then like an actual like stat effect or whatever. But the problem with event Wyrmprints is they're only there for that event, and it's hard enough to get enough Wyrmprints to mob a regular Wyrmprint, right? And then you have this like diluted pool with event Wyrmprints that you can't mob. So if you do pull one, that's great for the event, but then you can't do anything with it after. It's just like, I don't know what they'd have to do about that except not have those.
Yeah, another thing about the Wyrmprints that's really been bothering me is that when you upgrade your adventure using crystals, or a dragon using dragon fruit, your might actually increases more than a Wyrmprint would when you level it up using the type of waters that they give you. So I think that kind of adds just like salt into the wound.
Yeah.
Because that Wyrmprints don't really have that big of a contributing factor. Because like obviously when you think about adventurers, they're the main character that you're using, and then a dragon is what you're shapeshifting into. So that's essentially the point I'm trying to make there.
I think that's a fair point. I've noticed that Wyrmprints don't really add to your might, and even though might's not like an end all be all like value, it's still like pretty good use for like generally telling other people how like strong your team is. And I feel like that's another thing people don't like is Wyrmprints don't really add to that.
I think the general consensus between all of us is that the Wyrmprint system does need to change. Now, the question is, are they going to change it?
I think they will.
Because the main thing I see is that it is attached to the real money system. I think the one thing that they could change that would work within the system they have right now is actually just taking out event Wyrmprints and, the grinding, high Midgard Wyrmprints and stuff like that. Rebalance the content and, refund the mats or whatnot. And just end, this whole farming free Wyrmprint stuff and keep the gacha Wyrmprints. So they're at least useful.
So you want to take out event Wyrmprints is what you're saying?
Yeah, just take out the event side. Either take out the paid side or take out the free side. That's my position on things.
It's interesting because I was thinking about previous gacha games I've played, and most gacha games have some sort of boosted unit for an event, right? So in this case, we actually get the boosted part for free. Like in raids, we get We get like a free unit Melsa that has extra damage against the boss. We get the free event Wyrmprint, and that's usually an area that gacha games monetize. So
that's true. Yeah, I mean,
so
yeah,
like if they took that part out, they'd actually have to, like, the fact that we get the event Wyrmprints for free is actually better than some games where if you wanted to do really well in an event, you'd have to pull on that banner for the specific event Wyrmprints like we had in the facility event. But like even in that event, they gave us free Wyrmprints.
I
Those
think
just made you more efficient.
I think in general, Cygames has been really good with just like giving out free units in general. Like Solaria, I think, and Melsa are both really good.
I mean, I agree. Yeah, that's great that the boosted stuff is free, but I don't know. I think Halloween in particular, though, did leave like a very salty taste in my mouth because they did both, right? In that instance, like they made it free and paid, like you said.
Yeah.
That's true.
And I don't think.
And I'd rather they did get rid of the paid. I agree with that because the paid Wyrmprints were stupid. Because I got one, and now what am I supposed to do with my one copy of a Wyrmprint? Like I either have to use the golden keys that cost money or take like 5 events to get, or what? Like what am I doing with it?
The fact that's really funny is that people missed out on some of the 5-star Halloween Wyrmprints and nobody cares, right? But when you miss out on Halloween Ellie, everyone cares, you know? Halloween Ellie was the one everyone wailed for. And, I mean, in terms of rarity, the Wyrmprints might be a bit more common because you have that skewed rate towards Wyrmprints rather than Adventurers and Dragons. But if you got Halloween Elisane and you didn't get that 5-star Wyrmprint, you aren't going to lose any sleep over it, where if the opposite was true, that's definitely a point of concern.
Right, so this is something Sam says very often, but like that's part of the, I guess, the predatory practice of Wyrmprints, is that they don't exist to make you feel good, they kind of just exist to break your pity rate, and I don't know. I just feel bad every time I get one. That's my problem with it. Like if they I'm just going back to if they could just not break my pity rate, it'd be okay. It'd be like a bonus power spike, right?
Yeah. So, Cygame and Nintendo, if you're listening, please fix and refund.
I mean,
fix and refund, sure. Easy.
Easy.
I mean, other than just talking about how bad Wyrmprints are. We've all been playing the raid event. How have you guys been doing? Me personally, I'm done with the event. I think I have like maybe 30 more bronze to go and a couple handful more of silvers. But overall, I thought the grind was pretty easy overall.
It was pretty easy. I'm gonna be the first to admit that I haven't really been catching up with the grind because of a certain other game that I've been playing, but hopefully I'll be able to finish at least Gold Emblems.
At least you admit it, because Sam hasn't been online in like 3 days.
I was online this morning, thank you very much. I did my dailies.
I don't know. Dragalia is still my main game, so I'll focus on it again sometime.
Honestly, though, I feel like Dragalia, in order for this game to succeed, they really need to get rid of the raid battle music. I can't stand
What?
it.
Whoa!
Wait, hold up. What's wrong with the raid battle music?
Nothing like a
every single time
enemy.
I boot up a game. Every single time I boot up that game, it just goes, yeah. It sounds like some like old grandma like yelling at me to do something. It's
my god. You've just set a fire under our asses.
Wait.
Not in a good way.
The Baba Yaga is coming for you, Reala. I hope.
Generally, Reala, everyone loves the raid music. That's the one thing that I actually look forward to for
I thought it was like a meme.
No, everyone loves it. It's such a good
people
song.
actually love it.
Yeah,
so
I think it's a great song.
to talk about the raid, but to link it to the Wyrmprints. So the past 2 raids, to get the epithet, the hardest, I guess, difficulty challenge, you equip your event Wyrmprint on your main leader, and then you equip Shapeshift Prints. So
Yes.
do we see this meta changing? Do we see Cygames doing anything to, I guess, combat that, or are they just fine with that? Any opinions?
I really hope they change it.
Shapeshift Prep only has a couple of applications in the game, but the thing is that I would rather them bring up other Wyrmprints to the level of Shapeshift Prep other than nerfing Shapeshift Prep, because it's like the only Wyrmprint I feel good about equipping, because I have an effect that I can actually feel in my gameplay, right? Like I get to turn into a dragon way more often. Yes.
Right, but it's only really useful during raid because you have the AI to carry it, right? You can't if you're doing a regular co-op with 4 people, then equipping even 10% shapeshift prep gets you not even a dragon.
I
Right?
equip full shapeshift prep for Avenue to Fortune farming because I have all shapeshift prep equipped. I run straight to where the rare spawns, and if the rare is there, I can turn immediately into a dragon and kill it. So it does have uses outside of the raid as well, at least for me.
Yes, so I just want to preface this statement about the shapeshift prep by saying that Clocks, Sam, and I, plus one other random that we opened to the public, was able to get the epithet title using shapeshift prepped. So I feel like that kind of just, on our first try, nonetheless, right? So I just feel like that kind of emphasizes how kind of broken shapeshift prep is in the game. But that being said, I don't think that they should remove it. But in like raid battles and things like that, I feel like there should be kind of like a separate mode that doesn't allow any type of buffs through Wyrmprints or any other type of challenge that can kind of bring a little bit more fun and competitive nature into the game.
I definitely agree with that. That shapeshift prep is important. But then I guess this brings it back to my original solution about regarding Wyrmprints is if you make other Wyrmprints better, people will use it if it offers other benefits past shapeshift prep. Like I don't know if I like phrase this right, but so if you make other Wyrmprints good, they'll use that because that has benefits. So that's like another like thing for balancing. I don't know. That's just my thoughts on that.
I
think that would work.
I guess I'm curious because like so far the two hardest challenges have been to kill the boss basically as fast as possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the first raid was harder than the second raid had a bit more leeway, although it also had a bit more RNG with the Hypnos teleport move that could kind of screw around over. And like the reason shapeshift prep is so good is because dragons tend to do a lot of damage in a short period of time. So I'm not sure if they could do something about this by having different types of achievements, which I don't even know what those could be. And because like if they all require some kind of speed element, then dragons are probably going to win out. So that's like if I were Cygames and I was considering this, I'm just so clueless as to what I would be putting on the table.
Kill the boss without destroying any of its parts. Do you like that one? Do you like that one?
Yeah.
Or
yeah,
like,
kill the boss without making it pass away.
yeah, that'd be interesting.
You know?
Or like kill the boss with like all off element units or something like that. Like that'd be interesting.
Oh jeez.
That'd be hell, but that'd be interesting.
Like I like that. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Like no, so for this one, kill the boss without any fire units, right?
Yeah.
Make the boss die without having to kill him.
Okay, Real.
All right.
Going
All
a
right
bit
there.
too far.
Trigger the secret trap somewhere in the room and make the boss fall down the hole.
Spam your attack button until you eventually find the secret button that makes them go down the
No,
hole.
spam a select series of combos until the secret
my
trap button appears.
Dodge 100 lightning bolts and then make your way back to home base.
Oh yeah, do it without getting hit by the boss even once, and this includes a boss that doesn't have purple AoEs then.
I just hope they take out that unavoidable attack. That's just
No damage run.
I
Have so
Freaking hard.
I have an important question for you guys. Have any of you got to try the new units in the raid?
Melsa and Sanoa, I'd say I'm pretty comfortable talking about. For me.
Same, because I didn't get any of the other cool
Yeah.
units. Like the 5 stars that some of you people seem to have.
Yeah, I mean, I got very unlucky. I pulled Naveed, but I had
Unlucky.
Ezreal already. I didn't need Naveed.
I'm so sad, Sam. Shedding a tear for you.
Thanks, dude. You're the only one.
You're welcome to give the husband over to me, you know.
I would
I'll
give
take
it to
care
you,
of him.
honestly. If I could trade you Naveed, I would give it to you, because I know you would enjoy his company. His company. He's pixels. I can't figure out their genders.
Yo, he's the husband, though. You wouldn't call your waifu in it.
I mean, whatever.
Exactly.
Semantics.
So
sorry.
how's Naveed going?
I think Naveed's
use
great. He's really fun to play because he's a sword. You know, the one thing about him though is that you don't get that very like satisfying like big hit damage like when you play Xander, because Xander has like two big hit moves.
I wouldn't know. I've never played Xander.
Wait, isn't his like first skill like that whole Gate of Babylon thing, which looks pretty sick actually? Isn't that pretty satisfying? He like gets like a row of like swords in the sky that like rains down.
It's just that me being a Julieta main, right? I'm so used to seeing like really large numbers on the screen, so there's that.
I mean, they're large, but they're slow.
But it does do a lot of damage, and he's a lot of fun to play. I like the mechanic that he's like kind of like a twist on Xander in a way, you know, with the crystalline, you know, that buff move, and then he does more damage. But yeah, he's fun. I like him a lot.
Well, lucky you.
How's Sanoa though? She's the most interesting unit, I think, out of the entire sort of set of units released.
Because of the
sure. Yeah, we had a discussion about the RNG in the game last time, and we said that we were going to report back on this episode on what we really thought about Sanoa. So I'm going to let Jack and Clocks really take it away on what their thoughts are.
Heck yeah! Thanks for the
smooth transition.
Reala.
This is
super segue.
This is Reala admitting to, hey, I actually didn't pull any of the units. I have Cerberus, and she's pretty.
Yeah, so the thing about Cerberus here, so wait, we're going to go into Sanoa soon, but the thing about Cerberus, right, I read the skill for Cerberus, there's so many numbers, right, 7 hits of 105% flame damage, 12 seconds, 72.7% flame damage for every 3.9 seconds, so 100% 10 base chance, right? All these numbers mean nothing to me. All of these numbers mean nothing to me, because it's a dragon with some titties. That's all right, move on.
Cut.
No, don't cut. Non-dragon dragons are very popular. And I'm the kind of person who likes to see dragons.
Wasn't there like a Twitter poll about...
Yes, so I was going to mention this later on, but I'll mention it now. The Japanese Dragalia Twitter has had 2 official polls asking people about 2 different sets of dragons, in which I guess their favorite is. And they actually split up the polls in such a way that Jean was in one and Cerberus was in another, and guess who's leading in both polls? The non-dragon dragon waifus.
I would vote for both of them. I just want to let people know you have the right idea.
You can vote. You can go vote. You just have to know which option is which.
Go vote, guys.
Yeah, go vote. So how is Cerb though? I mean, she has the Superman pose. She flies around with like puppies in her hands. Like, what's that about?
Yes. So Cerberus has been a house favorite in the House of Midnight Reala's domain for quite a while, because I've had a crippling addiction to the mobile collective card game Shadowverse, also developed by Cygames. And in that game, Cerberus is a real cutie patootie. So it makes real sense that Cerberus in Dragalia Lost is also a real cutie patootie. So... Yep, I don't
know if Cutie Patootie is it describes the art I saw of her in Shadowverse.
I'm actually gonna go out on a limb and say this. I like Dragalia Lost Cerberus way more than Shadowverse Cerberus. I think the art is a lot better, and I really like the whole cape and the red clothing. I think that really goes with her. Mm-hmm. I really don't like the Shadowverse Cerberus now that I've seen the Dragalia Lost Cerberus, and I hope this continues. I really hope they like make these like improvement in designs on old Shadowverse
Let me look
characters.
At the...
I mean,
Sam,
the
what are you
difference is
talking
she's wearing
about?
a skirt instead of just underwear. Really.
Exactly.
This is live reaction from JakChoy, and I approve of the
I
Shadowverse.
guess Sam likes skirts. So Jack, do you want to start with Sanoa and I'll chime in?
I honestly, I don't have much to say about Sanoa because she's just because
he hasn't been playing the game.
No, I have been playing the game, Sam. Excuse you. I have been playing the game, but I just don't play Sanoa as like the character that I play. I mostly just have Mikoto, and then Snow is just like behind, just giving us buffs and stuff. Which actually I think it's pretty helpful sometimes because like when I randomly get an attack buff, I try to get my meter up and like do my Mikoto stuff. So.
Alright,
it's like
well, since you're talking about Makoto, I'll talk about Sanoa because I have actually been using her. I like to take her to Wind Onslaught and stuff, just or like, you know, like Midgard if I do him just for funsies. Because I did start with my 5-star was Maribel, so I'm kind of a wand main, you know. So her skill charges, her one skill charges really fast. At skill level 3, it's actually I don't have skill level 3 because that requires promotion, but it's actually, I think it does. It's actually insane because it gives one of 4 buffs, right? For 20 seconds. It gives either 25% strength, defense, or crit up, or I think 15% max hit points, which is insane. It's RNG, but it's insane. And the reason I say it's insane is because look at 5-star elemental weapons and look at their buffs that cost like 10k, 12k, 17k skill points to even get, compared to her like 3.5k RNG skill 1. And those buffs, to list a few, Maribel, my little baby, her Win Wand gives her a self heal. Julietta's axe gives her a crit buff, which is an interesting choice for axe users. Lance users, some of them get an AoE heal, which I guess is at least not a self heal. Staff gets the worst shaft. They get a 5-second increase to their healing output for like a 17k SP.
But Professor
like,
Clocks,
skill.
I have a very important question for you.
Okay.
Was the shaft and wand a pun intended, or
It was
not?
a shaft and staff.
Oh,
And yes, it was.
Oh my god. Okay.
Yes, it was. But I mean, now that you pointed it out.
Wah, wah, wah.
Anyway, my point is Sanoa is an interesting support unit. Her damage is obviously not going to be as high as, you know, like Maribel's just pure, you know, damage skills, but I think she actually featured in one of the high Midgard kills, although there's been a lot of wonkery going on with what people have been using for those. I think she definitely has a lot of use as a support role, and her buffs are actually pretty dang good, especially I'm just saying, especially compared to those elemental weapons. So
I feel like Sanoa is the ultimate gacha addicts character, right? Because every single time you activate that skill, you're just like, oh man, which one it's going to be this time? Adventure, Wyrmprint, or Dragon, you know? Like,
that's true, that's true. When I hit that button,
exactly.
I'm like, what am I gonna get? I'm like, honestly, they're all pretty good. Like, people are like, oh no, like a defense up, but like, that kind of defense up is actually really useful in something like high mid, where you're taking a ton of damage, and reducing that damage by a quarter, like, means a lot, right? And like, strength up is great, crit up is great, max health gives you a tiny heal to go along with it. Like, it's amazing.
I think the one thing that Sanoa's emblematic of, though, is that, I mean, we've been dumping on Cygames and Nintendo for, like, I think the entire episode. But one positive note that I will say is that the 4-stars are really good. Like, I've been very, very impressed with almost the entire roster of 4-stars that they've at least released. And there's a lot of good ones in the initial release of the game, too. I think the only miss has been, like, Althemia, Halloween Althemia. And even then, people seem to like to use her, too.
I promoted her. That was an accident. That was a mistake.
Have to pay respects, chat.
Yeah.
Rip.
Oh my god. It's okay. We all make mistakes, you know? I'm not even going to say how much I spent, but it's
I don't know,
okay.
like, I mean,
You know,
if we're
mistakes-
talking about mediocre 4-stars, Luther compared to Orsum is an interesting one because they're both water daggers. And I just feel like Orsum is the better water dagger.
Oh
4-star.
yeah, for sure. Horseman's definitely better.
That's an example of... And eventually we're gonna get more dupes of, you know, like, even same rarity, same element, same weapon. Like, right now we have Ezolith 5-star dagger, and then we have Melsa 4-star dagger, but they're a bit different, but the whole... I don't know, it's just gonna be... We'll see what happens.
Now I know.
We'll see how they handle it.
Now I know. I just said that we've been dumping on Cygames for the entire episode, and then we had this brief moment of light shining, right? But now it's time to go back to dumping on them a little bit, because I wanted to talk about the event frequency.
Ooh.
Do you guys think that the event frequency is too low, too high, or just right? For me, personally, I think the events are coming out way too slowly. I finished the grind for this event basically on day 2 or 3, and then I had to tell myself like, I'm not gonna play the game, so I can just grind out the rest of my achievements for the rest of the event. And now, once this event is over, I know there's gonna be a couple days of downtime, and then finally another event is gonna hit with a new banner. You know, so I think the events are coming out way too slowly.
I completely agree. The gacha games I've played have typically had. I've played gacha games where there's weekly events. I play gacha games where they're slightly longer, but there's no downtime. Just the combination of almost 2 week long events plus downtime is killing me. I know that for maybe more casual players it's good, but I think that leaves too much time for people to kind of get bored and wander away from the game. Like Sam and Jack haven't really been playing because there's only so much to do really once you're either done with the event or you just get bored of doing it, right? And then the downtime is even worse because like it's nice that they gave us like the fire dungeon all of last time to prepare, but I mean there's only so many times I'm gonna run that fire dungeon. Give me events.
Yeah, for sure. So one thing that's really concerning to me is that if Nintendo and Cygames are taking dead weeks in a game that's only been out for a grand total of a month, what's going to happen maybe 1 year or 2 years down the line? Do you think they're going to become more and more complacent when throwing out more events because they still make their profit margins and meet their profit quota? So where do you think it's going to
go? I'm just gonna say this from previous experiences regarding other gacha games, Cock Knights Chronicles. If you don't have any variety in endgame and events, the game tends to die. So I'm just hoping that they're kind of like trying to figure stuff out in the early phases, and like they're giving players some extra time to like, you know, catch up with the raid, but I'm hoping they kind of step it up a bit. And I'm actually really surprised that this is Cygames, who has Grand Blue Fantasy, who's like one of the most grind heavy games that I know of. So I'm actually really surprised that like the grind isn't worse than it currently is.
And yeah, just to piggyback off that, Grand Blue Fantasy's been out for a while, and I don't remember if it was one of you guys saying it or someone mentioned they have weekly events, right? And they've been out for they've been out for a long time, so you know the problem about like being complacent and not having events, I don't think that's going to be an issue. Maybe they're taking so long to do events because they're getting the, you know, like the UI and like all the various like little things like kind of worked on, getting the event types kind of worked out, getting the Gather Wing thing worked out. But I'm really hoping they step it up.
Grand Blue actually sometimes has 2 events going at the same time, so like,
oh jeez,
yeah. That can get pretty hectic.
The thing we have to be careful about is that sometimes these games, they sometimes go overboard on releasing events and things like that.
Yeah.
So I really hope that, you know, Cygames eventually reaches a good balance. I do think right now it's a way too slow. I think I would be okay with it if there was 0 downtime. Having to wait 3, 4... I think the last event we waited like around 4 days, I think?
Yeah, 4 or 5 days, I think. It was pretty bad.
Yeah, I think that shouldn't happen. I think the longest downtime I want to see is like a day. And I understand that maybe Cygames is trying to capture more of like a casual appeal to this game, but you gotta do justice to your actual fan base. We grind. That's what we do.
Their gacha games are known for their weekly grind. I feel like going too casual and people are gonna lose interest and go elsewhere. It's kind of already been happening with Epic 7.
I really hope they find a middle ground. That's like all I wish for, honestly. Just
I
like
can't believe you said its name.
If Cygames were to find kind of like a way to release events more fast, I think they should kind of ditch the mentality of a quote new event equals new banner. Because I think that we should kind of have banners that go on for 2 separate events. I know that people are kind of speculating that there's going to be a second part to kind of like the Halloween event before we had that dead week. And they're like, okay, well, the banner is going to keep on going after the event. There's no way that we aren't going to get a second part to the event. And then guess what happened? We just had a whole entire dead week. And people were kind of, people had to do a double take with that. They're like, really? It's 3 weeks into the game and you're already giving us a dead week in terms of content? So I do agree with Jack and basically everyone else's sentiments on this podcast here. We definitely do need to find a middle ground in terms of releasing the events.
Yeah, and I'll just add that between having two long events and then an even longer banner, I'd rather have a long banner covering two events, right? Or whatever it was that you were saying. So, and they don't, and yeah, the banners don't always have to have a new featured unit, and I don't know, like I think we will see banners where there isn't anything new, and the featured units are just, maybe they'll feature all the fire 5 stars or something, and we'll get like more timid banners like that.
Maybe.
So we'll see.
I just don't want. Just please don't do alts. I don't know if anyone like has been following Fire Emblem Heroes, but like Jesus, just no alts, please.
What about alters, like from FGO?
What are all?
Okay, Sam, stop. Not the right.
Jean Alter? Are you ready for Jean Alter?
Is that
It's
the
coming.
altar?
Oh my God.
Is that the altar?
Wait, I actually don't understand the reference.
So Fire Emblem Heroes released a banner where 3 of the characters in the banners were alts, and it's been pissing a lot of people off
What do
because
you
this
mean-
was like a big
What do
banner.
you mean alts? Alts?
Like,
It's like a different
alternates
version
for-
of
yeah.
the same
Oh,
unit.
so like if it was like Halloween Althemia kind of thing?
Not even seasonal. It's just like a different theme. Like it's like everyone's wearing a white dress. That was a theme. It's like
Oh,
old
like
characters.
a wedding banner kind of thing?
Kind of.
And you
not,
say
yeah.
you say people don't like that?
No.
People love seasonal.
The issue
stuff.
with Fire Emblem Heroes is they have 4 or 5 alts for these characters. So
Okay.
they're honestly just like milking the fan base for specific games and characters, and that's like the issue I have with. I just pray that we don't go down that same route for Dragalia Lost, because that both are
100%.
Nintendo IPs. So I mean, it could happen. I'm just hoping it doesn't.
Well, one thing I'll say that's good about Dragalia is like once you get a unit, that's it. You don't need extra copies of the unit. So if you get like a limited time different version of a unit, you don't have to worry about getting extra copies of this limited time unit, right? So that's a positive, even though I never got Halloween Ellison. Free.
But yeah, I think our general consensus is let's try and have one event a week. I think I'm good with the current grind the way it is, because if the events are weekly, me finishing the event in 2-3 days, that's completely fine.
So how much of that though, like I know we should probably move on, but like, how much of that is us being probably on the more hardcore side of things? I mean, we're having a podcast about the game we're playing, right? As opposed to maybe casual players who don't have as much time.
I have no illusions that my feelings come from being a hardcore gacha gamer. I mean, if you watch me stream, like I go hard in the paint, right? Like I will do like a fight for 4 hours if I have to, if it's something I'm struggling at. Like I'm ready to put in the time. And I know not everyone's at the same place, but I think that, by making the events take so long, you're not making the game for your core audience. And so
Yes.
many
Yeah.
games have made the mistake.
Every game has new players coming in during an event where they're never gonna complete the event, or maybe even the next event or event after that, because they have to get stronger, right? But like those games keep chucking, the old users keep on completing the events, and those new users get good eventually, and then they can complete events within the time limit and etc. Right?
Hey guys, this is Reala here, adding this quick cut-in. This is done in post-commentary because at the time we recorded the podcast, we did not know what the future event was going to be, but now that info has been revealed after the Hypnos Raid event is done and over. So the new event is going to be called A Wish to the Winds, and it is actually a wind facility event, which none of us actually expected. But we're leaving this part of the podcast still in here if you want to laugh at our predictions and kind of mock us for being wrong. But there's still plenty of discussion topics, so I do hope you enjoy the rest of the podcast.
While I'd love to talk about the event structure all day, we don't have all day for this podcast.
Mhm.
I'd like to know your guys' predictions on the next event. For me, oh man, I don't know. Give me something new. Give me something cool and crazy. That's what I want. I want something cool and crazy. But I also want a wind banner. Don't do me wrong, Cygames. I have no wind units.
I personally think we're gonna get a dark element, like a focus on dark characters, and so that'd probably be a light enemies then, I'm guessing, because like I think they've been alternating between the fire, wind, water elements and then the light, dark. So, and then I'm expecting like a wind focused event probably after the dark one, and it'd be really cool to have a dark maze. I think like just like if they make it kind of like a horror-ish themed, I think that might be really interesting because we haven't had a maze event yet.
Right, so like jumping on that, the maze event was something that was leaked from the Japanese version. There's like a leaked announcement. It's called the Kaleido Maze, probably not the full name. But the thing with the maze is that it seemed to be element agnostic. It seemed like it would have random waves of enemies, and that you might need a team that has different elements in it. So my prediction is actually not wind, not dark. If we do the 2 events per month thing that we've been doing, I think we're gonna see raid facility, raid maze. Assuming maze is an actual event, right? So I think we're gonna get maze. I think the banner might not even have a new featured unit. I think the Twitter Dragon poll we discussed earlier might feed into that, where they pick people's favorite dragons, make that a raid up. Maybe we'll have a new unit, maybe we won't. Like maybe they will introduce a new like dark unit or something to get a dark unit into the pool, but it won't be like the focus of the event. Then I think we'll have a wind advantage raid, and then for Christmas I think we'll have a facility event that's a dark advantage. So that's my prediction on events.
It's really interesting that you brought up the whole like non-mono team because I feel like at the beginning of the game when the game just started, people didn't really care about elements, which was a surprise to me because I know that Grand Blue Fantasy is focused very much on what element you're trying to build. But then when the events came in, people started focusing more onto like on element characters again. But if they do bring an element or sorry, an event that doesn't require a single element, I feel like that'd be interesting because then we can just like use all of our favorite characters on the same team.
Then people can stop comparing the game to Grand Blue Fantasy.
All right, so in terms of the next event, I think I share a lot of sentiments with the other people here. And I think it really just does depend. Are they going to step up this event schedule? Because if it has been what it's been, we're going to have 2 more events before the end of the year. And it's going to be exactly what you guys have just said. It's going to be a wind advantage banner. And then we're going to have a facility event where it's going to be light enemies for dark gets the advantage. Yeah. I know I say that as kind of like a joke, but we're moving at a snail's pace here, and that's kind of what's going on. Now, I do think, even though companies are supposed to think agnostically, holiday season is in December, so this is kind of a far stretch, but I think they are going to make a Zethia character playable in the game under a gacha. I just feel like holiday season is basically the time where they're going to be expecting high sales numbers, and it's going to be for a character that a lot of people are looking
Santa
for.
Zethia. I'm calling it right now.
No,
We're getting
I
Santa Claus
highly
Zethia.
disagree we're seeing Zethia anytime soon because we still have a bunch of story chapters to go through. And I
That's also
can't
true.
see them releasing a Zethia or Dark Zethia. I think we'll see a Dark Zethia for sure, right? But I don't think we're going to see it without seeing more of the story.
Yeah, I definitely think they're
So,
gonna wrap up the whole Zethia storyline to make us warm up to the character and then drop the banner on us and then milk all of our
yeah.
cash out of
I
our
think we'll see
wallets.
her just not soon.
Yeah.
But I also want to ask everyone to throw down and predict which, for the wind and the dark banners, what weapon type are we gonna see the 5 stars be? So for me, and I'm just gonna lay this out on the table. For now, we're missing the following 5-star units. We're missing second versions of the unit of these following weapon types: staff, axe, blade, and dagger. So I'm gonna predict a dark axe and maybe I don't know what wind would be. I'd say staff, but that wouldn't be ideal for if I think we're gonna have a wind raid. I don't think the featured unit would be a staff, so I'm kind of conflicted on that one. Anyone else?
I like the Dark Axe idea. That'd be pretty cool if you get a Dark Axe unit.
I'm going for a dark sword because I need to finish the collection
Really?
of all my dark swords. Of all my swords, not my dark swords. I need to finish the collection. But also, to
Just
be
release
fair,
all the swords, okay.
but to be fair, it would also complete the trilogy, right? Rodrigo, right? He's the 3-star dark sword, right? Then, oh no, sorry. Rodrigo's the 3-star dark axe. I'm completely
I'm
stupid.
talking about 5 stars regardless.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be a dark axe though, for sure.
Okay, so we're betting on a dark axe. Anyone have any different opinion on the dark unit?
Well, I do agree with that. I think they're gonna call the new unit, instead of Julieta, it's gonna be a dark unit, and it's gonna be Vapieta
Oh my god.
What the heck?
for the dark unit.
I mean, I do think like Julieta being the light axe and then a dark unit being the dark axe would be kind of cool and would make sense.
We will
Like
call
for the
her...
wind, I really don't know what the wind unit's gonna be. There's Maribel, who's really good DPS but isn't featured. But wind is missing a good. I think we'll see a wind 4-star staff at some point. That will be a decent healer.
Hmm. And if anyone else has any ideas, let us know in the comments below. We'd be interested to see what other people are expecting in the next event / banner.
Encourage that viewer interaction. Dragon's Roost.
And that's all for this episode of the Dragon's Roost. If you like this episode, please give it a like and talk about it with us in the comments below. Subscribe and hit the bell to stay notified, and check out all the social links in the description. I've been Sam, and thank you for watching the Dragon's Roost. Bye-bye.